Alright folks, there will be no intro today, let's get straight into this. And also, to all of you who is stealing content, pay attention and learn.
Let's take a look at what Square Enix is saying about turn-based combat now that Clair Obscur has shown that it still sells. The success of Clair Obscur has been incredibly impressive these past few months. They have sold a shitload of copies of their game, despite being just a small team with a AA budget. They have gotten incredible reviews from critics and gamers alike. For once, this is a game that has the vast majority of people agreeing that it's an incredible product.
That is correct. I think I played about less than 9 hours, though my main criticism is, of course, there's no mini-maps, but then again, solution to that, this is my solution. I just follow the enemy, wherever they are, or perhaps in this case, a waypoint. I mean, yes, in the open world where you have to go, outside the location of sort, there is a map within areas such as, let's say, Gestural Village, I believe that's called. I couldn't access the map, I couldn't even have a mini-map. I think that's the only criticism I have, but other than that, looks good. How long's it been? I need to check something out. Before we continue, let's see. 33, when does it come out? April 24th? So it is now... Seriously? They're kidding, right? Wow, I thought it would gone way longer. It took 2 months for Square Enix to realize this? Now that's amazing. Which I had to ask all of you, if you have played a turn-based game, whether it's Final Fantasy or whatever it is, name your turn-based games that is your favorite in the comments.
If they manage to restore at least some semblance of sanity to Square Enix, who has made it a business priority seemingly to ignore the suggestions and feedback of gamers for the past decade or more, well, this might end up being the most monumental achievement of Clair Obscur by a wide margin. Now, I will say this, I understand that there is also a significant portion of the gaming population who doesn't care at all for turn-based combat, and that's okay. If you personally don't like turn-based, then no worries. I happen to not be a big fan of Souls-like gameplay. I play those games from time to time whenever I get the itch, but it's not my favorite.
I usually play, when it comes to Souls, I usually play, let's put it this way. If I fail a lot of times, I just stop for a bit and come back another day. Withdraw, regroup, and come back. Live to fight another day. And I'm not some people who complains that there is no easy mode. No, not like that, okay? But optimization, I will always criticize, okay? I haven't exactly played turn-based in a while now. It's been, I don't even remember how long. I think every Final Fantasy fans will always wanted a turn-based, I think turn-based is what made Square Enix succeed in their Final Fantasy game. They choose to abandon it. What was the reason? You know what? I'm gonna go ask ChatGPT when I'm done with this.
Important thing to recognize is that there is a market for various styles of gaming, and turn-based definitely has a sizable audience. You don't have to like it very much in order to recognize that there are lots of people who will buy it and recognize that it is synonymous with the Final Fantasy brand. When I see a Final Fantasy game, I immediately associate it with turn-based combat, and this hybrid turn-based and real-time action that we've seen in the past several years from the Final Fantasy brand, that just does not appeal to me at all. I've heard Endymion talk about Final Fantasy XVI and how that game is fun, and it has a really good story apparently, but I just can't get excited about it knowing that it's nothing like its predecessors. I'll probably eventually try it, and I'm sure that I'll like it when I do, but sales of this franchise have drooped quite a bit in the past decade. They used to sell 10 million units or more, no problem. Now they're struggling to limp to 4 million units sold.
Question is, why did they do that? We should ask ourselves this. You know what? I'm gonna have to make an assumption that for the remake, the Final Fantasy VII remake, one of them must have pitched the idea of turn-based, but sadly, there was another pitched the idea of no turn-based, saying that people don't want turn-based, which eventually it was proven false by Clair Obscur Expedition 33. It backfired. I mean, yes, the story looks good, combat looks good. I don't know, the remake, I haven't played it, I haven't continued because I was most focused on Stellar Blade, and now I'm focusing Lies of P. I'm also waiting for Mecha Break, which is coming in, less than 5 days. by the time of this upload at least. Honestly, I have to say, that's a lot of good games and I have no idea which one to play or which one to finish. Now I know why they say FOMO, folks. But will Square Enix listen to fans this time? Or will they fumble the bag? That's the question we should ask ourselves.
And the recent release of FF16 on Xbox saw them sell only 22,000 units, which is why we see this headline here. This comes from Insider Gaming, and it says at the bottom there, not many saw the outrageous success coming for Clair Obscur Expedition 33. The game had potential, but it's likely exceeded all expectations in 2025. So much so, a Square Enix investor is reportedly pushing for Square Enix to shift gears back to turn-based games, using Final Fantasy and Dragon Quest as examples.
An investor! Amazing! I guess Hypnotic was right. Black Myth Wukong really did woken up every investor. Also, I'm 100% certain the majority of the players who played Clair Obscur Expedition 33 is Square Enix investor. 100% certain.
Fantasy hasn't been an overtly turn-based title in some time. You could argue Final Fantasy XII was the final game to embrace any proper turn-based elements. Since then, Square Enix has focused on creating more engaging, real-time action. This might not stay this way forever. Final Fantasy purists would probably love the return of a purely turn-based Final Fantasy game. According to a translated post from Genki, one Square Enix investor is pushing for the company to return to its roots. At the Square Enix shareholders meeting, one investor said they would like the new Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy games to be turn-based and highlighted Expedition 33's success as an example.
Imagine that! Eastern investors, which I think this has highlighted the difference between East and West. The investors in the East, when it comes to money, it is true they prefer making a lot of money similar to the West. Unlike in the West, I don't know, they just invest willy-nilly and not thinking to themselves what works and what doesn't work. Because the East, they understand, they learn which game can be more profitable. And this is the proof, folks.
Keep in mind that in order to be invited to the shareholder meeting, this investor has to be someone of significance. So I assure you that Square Enix not only heard this person's plea, but they will definitely discuss it. And they damn well ought to. Clair Obscur Expedition 33 should be a wake-up call for this company. When that game released a few months back, I remember saying that Clair Obscur looked and felt an awful lot like Final Fantasy, and I said the only thing holding it back was its name. But just imagine how many copies it would have sold if it was the same exact game, but if it had the title of Final Fantasy 17. Gamers would have freaked out, and the buzz would have been incredible. The ridiculous thing is that it took Clair Obscur to get these people's attention at Square. Where were they a few years ago when Baldur's Gate 3 came out and tore the gaming industry a new one, selling well over 15 million copies and being named Game of the Year while sporting a turn-based combat system? That should have been a massive clue that the gaming market is very open to this turn-based style.
I think during that time, during Baldur's Gate 3, many investors, including the East, I think they're still oblivious to it when it comes to turn-based, because how come we never heard anything from that? Think about that for a second. How come it took until Clair Obscur Expedition 33 released for Square Enix to realize this, that turn-based RPGs is still a thing and not outdated yet? It just needs improvement. One more we need to finish.
After all, Baldur's Gate released the same year as Final Fantasy XVI, and that game, FF16, has reportedly not even hit 4 million units sold yet. For a Final Fantasy title, that is pathetic. And a part of it is the way the company has put out shit like Forspoken as an example, really westernizing the hell out of what they make. That is part of what has driven people away. But another major part, I will contend, is that Square has been bound and determined to ensure that Final Fantasy is no longer turn-based. It feels like they're doing their best to chase after an audience beyond their core fans, but it hasn't worked out. They haven't attracted new players.
I think you heard the new players, okay? Okay, I'm gonna have to cut up from that. Seriously, Square, why did you do that? Square Enix, why did it take until Clair Obscur Expedition 33 release for you to at least open your eyes. I think, in my opinion, I believe Black Myth Wukong, and yes, it may not be relevant yet, but Black Myth Wukong was the one that really kicked open the doors and woken up a lot of investors to at least look at what games will be profitable to invest. Month after month, at least until Clair Obscur Expedition 33 release, it also opened more eyes, particularly in Square Enix investor. And lo and behold, they knew that turn-based isn't outdated. It's still a thing, and Clair Obscur Expedition 33, and most importantly Baldur's Gate 3, is proof of it. I have to assume that the Square Enix higher-ups still think turn-based is outdated, or perhaps they didn't know the success of Baldur's Gate 3. I have to assume Baldur's Gate 3 and Final Fantasy 16 released on the same day or the same month. Because when you release two games on the same month, regardless of what it is, I think the investor's gonna get confused on that one when it comes to investing. But that's just my theory, okay? I think they could fix on Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 3. Although I don't think Kingdom Hearts can benefit with turn-based. I don't think Kingdom Hearts has a turn-based system. It's still action-packed. I don't think turn-based is good for Kingdom Hearts, okay? Kingdom Hearts will benefit only with action. That's it. So Square Enix, from now on, for once in your life, how about instead of listen, journalists or perhaps people who don't play games, listen to your core audience. If you listen to them, guess what? More and more people will buy your Final Fantasy game en masse. And if your core audience says they want turn-based RPG again, listen. Never ever alienate your audience. It's not a business practice that will work. It's going to fail and backfire tremendously.
A lift route without an actual lift.
What?
Oh, nothing. It just has bad news written all over it. Damn, it's been flooded with water.
Again?
Leave a like and subscribe if you want woke or anti-woke detected, or you just want to see me play games, or perhaps you like trending topics. Visit my second, third, and fourth channel up here or link in the description.